Good Monday morning to you. It is 9 o'clock here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Jane Monreal. Happy to be back with you after a week plus long break. It's been a nice time away, and now it's great to be back here, back at home, back to this wonderful weather with wonderful Chris Mulcahy. He is here in the studio. How are you doing, Chris?
Doing pretty good.
Good. Happy Monday morning to you.
Happy Monday. Happy Monday.
Feeling the crispness of the morning, Carlene?
It's Chilly Willy.
Little Chilly Willy.
Yeah, I think we're
a
past
little
crisp at this point. Like this right now is just cold apples.
It's Chilly Will.
Yeah, and we're going to be saying this a lot. This is the coldest morning that we've had so far this season, by far. And then I'm going to have a couple other mornings that could also try to beat this number, but we see the expectations race down to 44 degrees. It has been a while since we did this illustrious number. 44 for your October 20th. It was 187 days ago. Was the last time we were in the mid-40s. On Friday morning, we dropped down to 48 degrees. So that was our first trip to the 40s, but then alas, here it is. We're back to the 50s though. 52 degrees right around Charlotte, 51 for you around Hickory, 48 still in Union County and around Monroe, and then 50 for you over in Lancaster. But the bottom line here is check off in the distance. We are all looking at a nearly cloudless sky. I think today is going to be a perfectly sunny day, barely a cloud in the sky. High temperatures right around 70 degrees. I have a high of 72 to be precise, which by the way is fantastic range to be in because that's actually pretty typical. That's where we should be for this time of the year. Not really a lot to report there, but I will let you know we do have a comet sighting. You're not going to see it with the naked eye though. So this has to be a well-defined camera, a telescope, or binoculars. Be about an hour to an hour and a half. If you look to the northwest, right near the Big Dipper, to the left of that, you'll be able to see Comet Seed 2025 A6 Lamont. So just letting you know that is going to be one of the coolest things we have in the night sky. If that is your jam, lucky you. And if that's your jam, most likely you already know about it. 45 degrees, that's going to be our low for tonight. So very similar to what we had this morning. And 45, I've been on and off between 44 and 45. All you have to know is a trip to the mid-40s and just as cold as what we had earlier this morning, but should be a similar start to the day. And our low temperatures are actually going to be on the rise once we hit that bottom again. We're back up to 50 degrees on Wednesday before we had the lower to the mid-40s, and then another run at the 50s with more cloud cover to conclude the weekend. As for our high temperatures, though, we're going to reach around 80 degrees on Tuesday before they start to settle down to the lower 70s to the upper 60s on the 29th of October, so we go that far out. But one thing I do want to mention is I was really annoying about this on Wednesday. I was off on Thursday and Friday. It's like you got to take advantage of what's happening on Saturday, because Saturday we had a high of 82 degrees. That could be the last 80-degree day. Now, 70, it's close enough. So we're going to distance ourselves from this range steadily, slowly, but surely. But on average, and this goes back to 1879, our average last 80-degree high for a given year is October 21st. The 30-year average is October 28th. Now, it doesn't mean you're not going to see the 80s again this year. As actually for the last 5 years, we had our last 80-degree high for the year between November 7th and the 11th. We are almost there, so I just want people to take advantage of the warmer days while we have them. If you are a cold weather wimp, and I have no problem saying that, my wife is one. You are one? Okay.
Oh, for sure.
I do not
So is
like
Carlene.
the
We do
cold
not
weather,
care for
no.
cold.
No, like literally, I have a 3-year-old that, of course, they take after their parents, and when we're eating dinner, I feel like I'm in a nursing home because both of them have blankets over their laps. And I love them to death, but then I'm just like, you guys in the blanket dependency is out of control.
I got blankets all over the place. I got glasses all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the amount of blankets we have in our household, it's definitely like 5 times the amount of people that we have in the house. That's not even accurate. It's probably 10 times. But anyways, alas, it is blanket season, y'all. So if you have a brand new seasonal blanket, you'll be able to use it over the next few nights. Our future cast, you don't really see too much movement here, do you? Because nothing's happening. That really is going to be a wall-to-wall sunshine scenario. Here are the changes that we have ahead of us. There's only one window of opportunity for rain, and that looks to be Tuesday evening, tomorrow evening. Notice here, this is noon tomorrow. We start to see a few clouds build. These really upper-level clouds that start to turn to those puffy cumulus, and then they start to spread out through this evening. all that green stuff kind of disappeared. That's the drier scenario, but oftentimes drought feeds drought. We still have not had a lot of rain. We had some rain yesterday. That doesn't do anything because you need at least an inch pretty much per week for us to try to get on track. We're heading the wrong direction as far as the drought sphere goes. And I don't have a specific graphic for this, but I am letting you know the mountains have been gorgeous for their fall foliage. It's breathtaking. Majestic took a bunch of photos. I saw what she had.
Beautiful.
But here in Charlotte, you're probably noticing that you're already starting to get a lot of brown leaves. Some things are changing early. It's because up in the mountains, yes, they're also dealing with the drought, but for us, the drought is affecting our fall foliage because things just started to turn. So the way things are going, and I know not everyone's driving the streets of Charlotte for a fall foliage show, but you're going to start to see an earlier change that you usually have compared to early November, and a lot more brown leaves earlier in the season just because of that drought status. So I just wanted to mention that. All right, back to our rain chances again. This is spotty. This is measly. This is barely anything. Here's the one hope that you would have some more rain. I don't believe it, but I always will give a model a chance. This shows a little line of heavier showers mid to late evening, kind of similar to what we had yesterday. I'm not completely debunking it because this is a cold front that's going to cool us down, and the cold front will take its time trying to clear us out. But one thing it's for sure going to do is make it windy. We're going to have wind gusts return to 25 miles per hour. Yesterday we had gusts of 40, so all my lawn chair was tipped over. I wouldn't be surprised if a few giant skeletons might be on their side or derriere, so that's going to be a good possibility. So fix your Halloween decorations because likely they got a little disheveled from the winds yesterday. So it will be windy again tomorrow, but not as windy as yesterday. Another look at the tropics, officially the 8 a.m. update, 50% chance for development over the next 2 days. So that means there's a really good chance by I think Wednesday to Thursday timeframe at least, we're going to have Tropical Storm Melissa. And we do not want any landfalling big storms anywhere, but if there was a place that would be impacted, it is looking like right now Hispaniola has the best chance, and that would be by the weekend. So we're not done with our tropical season. It still goes until November 30th. During a really active tropical season, you can even have storms firing up in December. I don't think that's the case this year, because this year we have been really lucky. This would be actually, the fingers crossed, knock on wood, that this doesn't come to fruition. If we do not have a landfalling hurricane in the United States, which we have not this year, this would be the first time in a decade that we have not done so. Not complaining, thank goodness. Fingers will remain crossed from this meteorologist. Our Jerry Hunt Supercenter 7-day forecast, wrapping this up. You can see the top, 78 degrees on Tuesday before we're back to the lower 70s where we should be. And by the way, the last days of October average around 71 to 68 degrees. So this is pretty much on brand. We have a bunch of icons here because we like to let you know about all of our big sporting events. We have the Charlotte Checkers, officially started their season just last week. They're back in town, home games on Friday and Saturday. If you have not gone to one, I highly recommend it.
So fun.
So much fun. I still think they let them fight because that's one of the best parts.
That's right.
Yep, that's my wife's favorite part too. And the Panthers are back at home on the win streak. So it was looking like my prediction for them to make the playoffs was looking foolish. Now at least it's kind of around that sphere, so really happy with that. But another thing to really focus in on, the bolder numbers, the bigger ones, of course, are our high temperatures. The lower temperatures that we have are mainly in the 40s compared to the 50s. So get ready for a lot more of those chillier mornings.
All right. We're prepared for that.
I'm prepared.
Are you going to a Checkers game this season?
I'm hoping. Want to bring a JT one. I actually, for the first time in 7 years since here, I didn't get to make it to a Knights game, so I can't let that happen.
Oh.
Yeah, I went to a Gastonia Ghost Peppers for the first time.
Oh,
I love
Yeah.
it.
No,
that?
actually, that's false. No, I went to the one with Larry when he
you did
threw
go
out
to
the
a
first
Knights
pitch.
game. Awesome.
I just usually don't go that early. I apologize for the fake information. All right, I'm done.
All right, very good. Not too bad of a start then for today, certainly.
It's amazing.
Sunshine
Enjoy it.
all day. Love it. I do like that part. All right, Chris Mulcahy, after a nice long weekend, is back here. I'm back here. I don't know. Take it or leave it.
We're glad you're back.
We are
Thank you,
happy.
Thank you. Good to be back and off to a great start this week, hopefully. So happy Monday to you, and we'll be right back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Hi, everyone. It is 9:12 back on a Monday morning. Hope you had a good weekend. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Governor Josh Stein is in the Charlotte area this morning speaking early to bankers. It's the Bankers Conference at the Charlotte Convention Center. He was there around 8 o'clock this morning. We're going to start to roll these comments and remarks for you as he is needing to be back in Raleigh in just about an hour or so. But comments he made earlier here this morning on WCNC Plus. Enjoy.
Good morning, everybody. Peter Gwaltney. Peter, thank you for that.
And yes, just to let you know, the audio is a little bit scratchy, as you can hear. That is on the end of the reception.
The Chief Policy Officer of the American Bankers Association, who extended the invitation to me to be with you all this morning. So Naomi, thank you for that. I also want to acknowledge Rob Nichols, President and CEO of the ABA, and thank him for his excellent leadership of this organization. Senator Bubb will be with you all shortly. Always good to be in the same program as him. To each of you present, I want to thank you for being here, and more importantly, thank you for your role in creating our country's vibrant economic climate. And I also want to welcome you to North Carolina. We are so pleased that you chose America's top state for business as the site of this year's annual convention. There are so many things that make North Carolina great. Our friendly and good people, our natural beauty from the Blue Ridge Mountains to the Barrier Islands and everywhere in between, and the best barbecue, basketball, and banking in America. I think Peter would agree with that assessment. The state toast of North Carolina declares that North Carolina is the land where the weak grow strong and the strong grow great. That's the promise of North Carolina, that where you come from should never limit how far you can go. Delivering on that promise is what drives me as governor, just as I know it drives many of you. I know because I've seen it. Just over a year ago, Hurricane Helene flooded western North Carolina, leaving heartbreak and devastation in her wake. The North Carolina Bankers Association immediately set up a Hurricane Helene relief fund, and the ABA promptly donated $50,000 to that effort, as well as to similar funds in other Helene-impacted states. I know that many of your individual banks also contributed to the relief efforts, and I want to thank you for stepping up in our time of need. And if you want to know how you can best help Western North Carolina right now, it's very easy. Please go to a beautiful Western North Carolina mountain town, have a great time, and spend a lot of money. Our hotels, restaurants, their small shops, they are open for and need your business. You won't regret it. Of course, supporting businesses and people is fundamentally what you do. For decades, the banking industry has been integral to North Carolina's economic success. Nowhere more so than here in Charlotte, the nation's second largest banking center. In 1874, Commercial National Bank was founded here in Charlotte. Several mergers, and many years later, this bank came to be known as Bank of America, now the second largest bank in the world. In Winston-Salem, Wachovia Bank was formed in 1879. The bank eventually merged with First Union, established here in Charlotte before, and they were later acquired, as you all know, by Wells Fargo in 2008. North Carolina is also home to two of the largest state-chartered banks in the nation. Truist, headquartered here in Charlotte, the nation's 9th largest bank, is the result of a merger between BB&T of Wilson back from the 1870s and SunTrust. First Citizens was founded in Smithfield, North Carolina, 1898. It's now headquartered in Raleigh and is the 16th largest bank in the country. It should come as no surprise to any of you how North Carolinians are proud of our banks, large and small. For the past 130 years, the North Carolina Bankers Association has been integral to the growth and success of banking here in our state, representing the interest of more than 80 banks across North Carolina. Our state's success in banking serves as the foundation for our success in other sectors: technology, life sciences, advanced manufacturing, agriculture, and more. Strong banks are integral to strong communities. So our state's success is intertwined with yours. And we've been fortunate to experience some successes in recent years. As I have mentioned already, and I'll probably mention a couple more times throughout the remarks, North Carolina was the top state for business in 2025, third time in the past 4 years. For the past 3 years, North Carolina has been recognized as a top 4 state in workforce. We are the third fastest growing state in the country by population. Folks see that we've got a good thing going here and they want to be part of it. And while we've created real momentum in North Carolina, we cannot rest on our laurels. We've got to keep strengthening our economy, enabling businesses to thrive and people to prosper. That's why my team and I are working every week to bring in more good-paying jobs and more investment. Since January 1, we've announced 28,000 new jobs and approximately $20 billion in capital investment across the state. These are good jobs with good wages. And we've got to not only grow the economy, but also make sure that it works for more people. That's why one of my priorities as governor is workforce development. A bachelor's degree is obviously great for many people, but a person shouldn't have to get a 4-year degree in order to get a good job that supports a family. That's why I am championing apprenticeships in career and technical education. In March, I established a council on workforce and apprenticeships, which is finding ways to help people acquire the skills and knowledge that they need to succeed in our ever-changing economy. The goal is all about more opportunity for more people. We've already seen successful apprenticeship programs from many of you in financial services and with bank tellers and customer service representatives, and I applaud these efforts to prepare people for the jobs of today and tomorrow. In addition to focusing on improving people's incomes, we're also working to lower their costs. Healthcare is a major expense for families and businesses alike. When people do not have health insurance, it raises the cost on the rest of us, especially in rural counties where a higher percentage of residents are uninsured and rural hospitals are struggling. 2 years ago, in a major bipartisan victory here in North Carolina, we successfully expanded Medicaid. Today, 685,000 neighbors have affordable health care that they didn't have just 2 years ago. And just as we worked together across the aisle to expand Medicaid, so must we work across the aisle to protect it. Protect it from $1 trillion federal cut to the program. $50 billion will be felt here in North Carolina. Protect it from a state funding shortfall that has already resulted in cuts this year. Last week, we took a big step forward in North Carolina, helping millions of patients when it comes to alleviating their burdensome medical debt. Thanks to a partnership between the state's Department of Health and Human Services and all of the state's 99 eligible hospitals, we announced more than $6.5 billion in medical debt erased for more than 2.5 million North Carolinians. So about a quarter of the state had $6.5 billion in debt taken off of their backs. So many credit reports wiped clean. So many new possibilities opened up. Home ownership, small business loans, and people simply freed from the financial and emotional stress of debt so that they can concentrate on their health instead. In addition to healthcare expenses, we also have to address the high cost of housing and childcare. I mentioned that North Carolina is now the third fastest growing state in the country. They say that if you build it, they will come. Well, it turns out, North Carolina, if you don't build it, they will still come. So we must increase the supply of homes of all types to meet this newfound demand, and we need banks to finance that construction. We also need to lower the cost of childcare. When we invest in young kids, we set them up for a lifetime of success. We also help parents to stay in the workforce. Too many parents who want to work cannot because they cannot afford childcare. That is, if they can find it at all. Getting pushed out of the workforce hurts workers, it hurts businesses, and it hurts North Carolina's economy to the tune of about $5 billion every year. So I created a task force on child care, and early education that is looking into ways that we can make the early education profession more attractive to more workers, create more child care slots for families, and make child care more affordable. By driving down the cost of living, we help families and we strengthen our state's economy. When we talk about inflation and the cost of living, I have to address the economic uncertainty and rising costs on business owners and individuals resulting from the federal government's ever-changing tariff policy. Trade wars increase costs on North Carolina manufacturers and consumers and close markets to many North Carolina exporters in pharmaceuticals, machinery, electronic products, and more. For instance, agriculture is the state's #1 industry, and more than 25% of our production is sold overseas. We should be opening new markets to our farmers, not closing them off. People and businesses thrive when there is stability and certainty, not chaos. So I hope the President rethinks his mercurial trade wars, and I urge Congress to reassert itself and exercise its constitutional authority over tariffs so we can fight inflation and keep our economy as far away from a recession as possible. Growing our economy, developing our workforce, lowering costs, and providing certainty and stability for investment. These are some of our nation's most pressing economic development issues. And I know that the members of the American Bankers Association will continue to play an instrumental role in investing in our economic future. I'm grateful to each of you. I look forward to partnering with you on these issues and many more, God willing, in the months and years ahead, so that together we build a state and nation that is safer, stronger, and more prosperous with real opportunity for every person. Thank you so much for having me this morning, and again, welcome to North Carolina.
And that was North Carolina Governor Josh Stein speaking at the Charlotte Convention Center earlier to the Bankers Association conference that is happening today. Right now, we're going to take a quick 2-minute break. We'll see you on the other side here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back to Live Impact News here on WCNC Plus. I'm Jane Monreal, and this morning a peace deal is supposed to be in phase one between Israel and Hamas and Gaza, brokered by the Trump administration. True test, though, over the weekend with airstrikes into southern Gaza early Sunday. Alice Barr from NBC News has the latest from Washington.
This morning, aid trucks at the Gaza border as Israel says deliveries of life-saving supplies resumed today and that its forces are once again enforcing the ceasefire that President Trump said is still in effect. Yes. The fragile agreement facing a major test over the weekend when the Israeli military launched a wave of deadly strikes and paused aid transfers after accusing Hamas militants of killing 2 soldiers. President Trump citing internal divisions within Hamas.
We think maybe the leadership isn't involved in that, some rebels within, but either way, it's going to be handled properly.
While underscoring that Hamas must disarm as required in the peace deal he brokered.
If we have to, we'll disarm
the U.S.
Well, whether it's me or the U.S. or it's, a proxy, could be Israel with our backing. We won't have boots on the ground. There's no reason to.
Vice President Vance offering more specifics.
That's going to require, as we know, some of these Gulf Arab states to get forces in there to actually apply some law and order and some security keeping on the ground.
The president's son-in-law, a key negotiator in the deal, zeroing in on governing Gaza.
The success or failure of this will be if Israel and this international mechanism is able to create a viable alternative. If they are successful, Hamas will fail and Gaza will not be a threat to Israel in the future.
As the region and the world hope peace will hold. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Just about 9:30 right now, and want to switch gears and talk about peak migration season. We're talking about migration season for one of nature's most spectacular travelers, the monarch butterfly. These beautiful black and orange creatures journey up to 3,000 miles from North America to Mexico, but in recent decades, the butterflies have seen their population really plummet. So joining us this morning is Thomas Johnson, Charlotte Vice President of Land Development at Taylor Morrison, and David Mizejewski. He's a naturalist at the National Wildlife Federation, joining us this morning. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Let me start with the big picture here and see how you can help our viewers, help us understand the scale of the problem and what is driving this. Is it a 90% decline in monarch populations?
Yeah, so monarch butterflies used to be one of the most common butterfly species all across the U.S. And unfortunately, in the last few decades, their numbers have plummeted. It's the usual suspects, humans causing habitat destruction, we're spraying pesticides everywhere, and as a result, the butterflies are disappearing. So the eastern population east of the Rockies has anywhere from an 80 to 90% loss in population from their population highs. And it's a real problem. It's our natural history, and the incredible monarch migration that's happening right now is at risk of disappearing forever.
Sounds so sad. So, it sounds like we can do something here at home in our own backyards, right, Thomas?
Yeah, that's correct. And in 2019, we have this partnership with the National Wildlife Federation at Taylor Morrison we started. And so clearly we're going on to year 6. But yes, it's something we felt like we wanted to be something that enabled us to be part of the solution and not the problem. And so, yes, in each of our neighborhoods, we actually have built a monarch garden, several to date and more to come. And then we also do other things like certifying national wildlife habitat. And then we also we built some nature playscapes as well, which try and be a little more nature friendly. So yeah, we feel it's important to do more than just the bare minimum.
All right. So what makes? Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, David.
I was going to say the real takeaway for everybody watching is that you can follow the lead of what Taylor Morrison communities have done. Everybody can create a monarch habitat garden right in their own backyard, in their community garden, in their city park. It's really as simple as restoring the native plants that monarch butterflies need to survive. So those adult monarchs that are, migrating or finishing their migration now from all the way from southern Canada all across the U.S. down to one spot in Mexico, which is part of North America. This is a North American species. So they're going to overwinter there, and they need fuel, particularly at this time of year. So planting late blooming things like asters and goldenrods not only will beautify your garden, but they'll fuel the monarch migration. But even more important is planting the monarch caterpillar host plant, which is milkweed. It's the only thing monarch caterpillars can eat. And it's one of the reasons why their populations are disappearing, because we've gotten rid of all the milkweed. So if you plant some native milkweed now, in the spring, it'll be sprouting, and the monarchs migrating north will have it available to lay their eggs, and will all help bolster the population like everybody in the Taylor Morrison communities are doing already.
Well, what makes milkweed so difficult to find in the wild these days then?
Well, again, it's because it's got weed in the name, and we humans, think weeds are bad. The reality is that there's several dozen species of native milkweed. They're a beautiful native wildflower. Most of them have purple or pink or white blooms. Some of them have orange blooms, though. And so they're very ornamental. And, we've gotten rid of them in suburban landscapes. We've replaced them with lawns and asphalt, which support nothing. In the migratory corridor up the central part of the country, it's the farm belt. And so we've converted a lot of that native grassland habitat to big agriculture, and we've sprayed pesticides on it. And there's just not enough milkweed out there to support the population.
Oh, just sounds sad all around. All right, so what can we do? First step, Thomas or David, what can we do in creating a butterfly garden in our own backyard? And how do the colder temps affect our yards right now, if that's what we want to do?
You want to take this one, Thomas?
Go ahead.
Yeah, so it really boils down to the things I was just saying. Plant native plants, particularly blooming plants that are going to fuel the migration in spring. Some that bloom in spring, some that bloom in summer, and in particular some that bloom in fall for that southward migration. And include a native milkweed, or many. Plant a milkweed patch. That's what they're looking for. And then again, for the average person, really avoid spraying pesticides, whether they're insecticides, which will kill the butterflies and their caterpillars because they're insects, and also herbicides, which are killing off the native plants that those butterflies need. In most home garden scenarios, there's tried and true organic gardening techniques that you can use that won't put these animals at risk. And it's really that simple. If I do this and you do it and your neighbor does it, those little gardens really do add up to a lot of habitat. And as far as the seasonal change, this is why the monarchs are migrating. As insects, they can't survive the freezing temperatures, and different species have different strategies to survive cold winter or cold weather, and migration is one of them. And monarchs are one of the few migratory insects, and even fewer migratory butterflies. So what's happening right now in our country, on our continent, is really one of the natural wonders of the world that, again, is at risk if we don't do something. And I want people to, take away that message, not just the sad news. The message here is that we can all do something. And it's a rare thing sometimes in wildlife conservation that the average person can take an action, make a choice that really makes a difference and can help turn the tide for a declining species. So we hope everybody out there is inspired to do that.
I certainly am. And you get something beautiful at the end of it, too.
Exactly. You're rewarded. You're rewarded by seeing, I did this and this animal showed up. It's really powerful, kind of magical even. And, again, it's about our natural heritage and making a choice that's going to support life or, that's going to, banish it and make it go extinct. And I think the choice there is pretty clear, at least to me.
All right. And Thomas, anything people, here in the Charlotte area, they can go to Taylor Morrison today and pick up supplies and get started?
Absolutely. I encourage you to go by some of our communities and check out the butterfly gardens. We spend quite a bit of time, and I think they look great. And usually in one of the neighborhoods, you'll see a plaque identifying where they are. But yeah, go and explore and take a look. And like David said, try and do some yourself and plant your native milkweeds and 80% of the native plants.
And it doesn't seem like you need any, a large amount of space to do it, right?
Yeah, really, any space that you have, even if it's in containers, is going to help, right? I mean, bigger is better. These monarchs need wide-scale habitat, but that's where the idea that if we all do a little bit, it adds up to a lot comes from.
All right. Any last message before we let you guys go?
Oh, just that, it's up to us to create the world that we want to live in. And the late Jane Goodall, her message was your life matters and your choices matter. And we have an opportunity to choose actions that are going to support this incredible butterfly species or to let it go extinct. And again, I think for most people, the choice is pretty clear there.
All right, Thomas Johnson and David Mizejewski, thank you for joining us this morning here on Live Impact News. I like the message here. It's a positive one. You can do something to make a difference and let those beautiful butterflies head to Mexico, where I just came back from. So we're just going to switch spots here. All right.
Thank you.
Have a great day, guys. Thanks.
Thank you.
And here on Live Impact News, we'll take a quick 2-minute break here and be right back on WCNC Plus. Stay with us. It is 9:40 here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Maybe some of you are waking up and thinking, am I dreaming?
I know Sturdivant's dreaming right now.
Is Nick Sturdivant taking the day off today because he's just caught in a cloud of glory?
Yeah, he's on cloud 9.
You know?
Yeah.
What? I mean, the Panthers really on a winning streak?
On a winning streak.
Is that possible?
It is.
It is possible. It is. They beat the Jets yesterday, 4-3, their first win on the road. Very exciting. However, QB Bryce Young, he did suffer an ankle injury and had to go out in the third quarter. Our Daniel Stein had a nice chit-chat with Julian Council from Locked On in this debrief that streamed last night. So if you missed it last night, here it is for your help you out on your Monday morning quarterback chair. All right, here it is on WCNC Plus.
The Panthers are streaking. They pick up their third straight win, and they get their first win on the road as well. Also, moving above 500 for the first time in quite a few years, as I now welcome in Locked On Panthers, Julian Council. Julian, again, it wasn't very pretty. It was a pretty low-scoring game, but pretty, I guess, if you like defense.
Yeah, well, in the words of Rico Dowdle, it was an ugly win. It was a gritty win for the Panthers. And considering the last couple of years, I'm sure Panther fans are happy to be complaining about the way that their team wins a game, because all that matters is a win, is a win, is a win. And the Panthers have now done that 3 straight weeks, the first time since the beginning of the 21 season, and the first time that they have been 500. Above 500 since also back in 2021 entering into week 6, and you can finally see that Dave Canales has this thing headed in the right direction, and we know where the Panthers are not, and that's not in the basement of the NFL, as they went out, won this game against the Jets. A couple weeks ago, they beat the Dolphins, who got their doors blown off of them on Sunday against the Browns. The Panthers clearly are not among the dregs of the NFC or the NFL anymore. They are very squarely a middle-of-the-road team, and we'll find out over the next couple of weeks when they face Buffalo at home next week, then head to Green Bay, just how good this team is and how good they potentially could be here in 2025.
Quite a few question marks as we look ahead to those. But like we actually were talking about on the show, we were putting them in that category with the Jets, with the Dolphins before, when we were saying, you know, these teams could go either way, because at that point they were struggling. But here they now are with 4 straight wins. Jets came into this one winless. Kind of could have looked like a trap game, maybe to some. We knew that the Jets would be missing a couple of their key pieces. The Panthers seem to be getting more healthy on their side. Of course, a couple of absences like D-Lou on the offensive line seemed to kind of work itself out with Austin Corbett coming back in at the right time as well. But let's start with the quarterback situation on both sides, because it was too bad to see this obviously happening, where both of the starting quarterbacks in this game left due to injury. Justin Fields first after a tough hit from Nick Scott, and then later on in the game, Bryce Young twisting his ankle as he was trying to avoid a sack. So starting first, just like, how do you kind of see this game when 2 backup quarterbacks, I guess, end up taking it over?
Yeah, well, at least for New York, like Fields, he came back, and then it was their decision to bench him in the second half for Tyrod Taylor as he was getting nothing done. And for Carolina, which obviously is going to be the focus for most of the people in our audience having watched this game, there's a little concern there with Bryce Young with that right ankle injury. Now, I look at it as being not that concerning, considering he was able to walk off under his own power to the locker room, and then they ruled him out in a game where it never felt like, even when the Jets got the ball back, they were going to be in a position to actually go out there and tie the game or potentially take the lead in that game. So we'll find out more possibly on Wednesday. I don't expect Dave Canales to give us much injury report stuff on Monday because, well, the Bills, Sean McDermott, that staff, they'll be watching to figure out who to prepare for this upcoming Sunday when they come to Carolina. But I don't think it should be that concerning. I know the x-rays came back as negative. We'll have an MRI. They'll get more information, see just where he's at throughout the week, where I expect he'll be on the injury report throughout it, and we'll see whether he's limited or full participant or does not practice throughout the week. But going down, not ideal, because maybe it takes away just a little bit of how people feel coming out of this game, having won 3 straight games for Carolina. But Bryce Young did not look like, in a way, that was a significant injury that should keep him out very long, maybe not even a week.
Yeah, you saw him hobbling off, but like you mentioned, he did it on his own power, no stretchers, no assistance from anyone getting off of the field. And we heard Rico Dowdle also say after the game that he talked to Bryce, and maybe he shouldn't have said this, but he said he'll be fine. So we'll see what that means. And Dave Canales did say also that they were going to be coming back to Charlotte to do some more further tests. So yes, we will keep everyone updated as we hear more on the status of Bryce Young and that ankle.
And let me say this too, because like a couple weeks ago, like we saw JT Sanders back in here today. A couple weeks ago, I know you asked, but I asked him in the locker room, was like, so what happened there? Was that an ankle sprain? He said, that didn't feel like an ankle sprain. So when he said that, I knew he was going to be out for a little bit of time. Hearing that Bryce Young is telling his teammates, I'll be fine, makes me feel like, yeah, he'll probably be fine and back out there on Sunday against Buffalo, which obviously is great news.
Huge news. And a little tape, I'm sure, can go a long way. But let's think worst case scenario for a quick second, though. I don't want to say worst case scenario, but in the event that Bryce is not able to start and it's Andy Dalton, Dave Canales said if that is the case, it is going to continue to be that run-first offense. And now we got to see our first look at that 2-back system with Chuba Hubbard now back playing alongside the red-hot Rico Dowdle. Do you think this maybe opens it up more with Dalton, who might not be slinging it the same way that Bryce is able to, and he's going to be relying more on these running backs? And also just what was your first impression of seeing how they kind of operated that system today?
Yeah, as far as the game plan next week, I don't think it matters whether it's Bryce Young or Andy Dalton or Hendon Hooker playing quarterback. The Panthers should be trying to run the ball a ton on Sunday against Buffalo. That is one of the worst run defenses in the NFL, while the Panthers are one of the best run offenses in the league. So they should be running the ball a ton. Now, whether it's Bryce, Andy, and of course, I mean, Hendon's not going to be out there, but whether it's any of those guys, like that should be the primary focus. As far as the running back rotation goes, we did see Rico Dowdle look better in his 18 touches for 96 yards and Chuba Hubbard in his 16 touches for 55 yards on Sunday. A pretty equal balance there, and they were trading off series. There was one time, I think the beginning of the second quarter, where both Rico and Chuba were out there on the field at the same time, but other than that, it was Chuba who started, and it was Rico, and then they traded drives from there. And very clearly so far through the first 7 weeks of the season, Rico's been the better back for Carolina. Am I surprised that Chuba started? Not really. Last November, maybe people forgot, they gave him a 4-year, $33 million deal that could get up to $37 million. So, yeah, that's probably the guy that you want to start over the guy that you brought in for like $3 million this offseason and unlikely to be on your roster next year. So I still think Rico's been great. I think that Rico should be a big part of this offense, clearly. And if it's a meritocracy, which the NFL claims it is a lot of times, he should be probably getting more touches at this point in time than Chuba, but also understand, like, Hubbard's coming off of a calf injury that's plagued him the last 2 weeks. I don't know how healthy he is right now. He was healthy enough, obviously, to play in this game on Sunday. I just think, like, for fans out there who are concerned about the split, just give it some more time, because I do think Chuba is going to obviously be a big factor in his offense moving forward. And with him and Rico both fresh moving forward to the final 10 weeks of the season, like, that is a good thing. That's a positive. And looking at this offense that does not excel in the passing game, having both of those guys is a great situation. So I see no controversy at all. I just see a budding partnership back there that I think is only going to get better as time goes on through the rest of the year in 2025.
So if the quarterback situation doesn't matter, let's look at O-line, though, because that does matter definitely a lot in terms of how they're operating things. So we did see, like we said, D-Lou was out for this game. Austin Corbett, who is just returning from injury after being out since leaving in week 2 against that Cardinals team, he was able to kind of fit back in. Obviously, we've seen a lot of shakeups and puzzle pieces kind of coming together on this O-line so far this season. So to put him in a position that he might not have been necessarily comfortable in, there maybe is a little bit of shakiness at first, but overall it seemed to click the way that they've been liking it all season long. And again, they were pretty strong last week too.
Yeah, and Damian Lewis, who missed the game, as you mentioned today, he's been awesome for Carolina. And you look at the last 2 weeks, the way that they've pulled him from that left guard position, he has really been somebody who's been a road grader and allowed Carolina to have success and have Rico Dowdle have those franchise-setting games like he had the past 2 weeks against Dallas and Miami. So not having him out there, I think, clearly had an impact on the run game. And now the Jets, they're a good enough front. They have Quinnen Williams. He's a really good defensive tackle. We all understand that, but they haven't really been the best run defense in the league so far this year. They've been kind of middle of the road. So I'd expect the Carolina to have a little bit more success, but I do think still trying to just have Chuba and Rico both get comfortable in what this partnership is going to be moving forward, and that rotation is going to be for the rest of the season. But offensive line-wise, you look at it, they've had 6 different starting combinations in their first 7 games. You look at the last couple of years, back in 2023 when they went 2-15, the offensive line was a train wreck. And that they've had injuries this year, and it's not been a train wreck. 2021, when last time they won 3 games in a row, last time they were above 500 through a couple weeks in the season, that offensive line had 13 different starting combinations in 17 games. So we've seen in past years when the offensive line has kind of injuries they've had so far this season, the Panthers cannot win games. The fact that they're not just winning games, but being led by the offensive line in a couple of their wins, like Miami and Dallas, that is a great sign, and should have a lot of people encouraged about what this team can potentially be once those guys do get healthier, even though I would not expect to have a guy like Robert Hunt back at some point in time, but we certainly will have Damian Lewis back probably sooner rather than later. And then we'll see how Austin Corbett fits into that offensive line and so on and so forth.
And again, that speaks to so much of that continuity that we've talked so much about how they brought back their starting 5 offensive linemen from last season. And so these guys, they have the connections, they have the chemistry, and they have the ability to kind of play anywhere on the line at this point. So when we need to see them going in and out because of injuries, they can kind of plug and play basically however it best fits. So it's good that they all know each other and they're vibing. It's not just throwing in anyone new to this equation. But rounding out the offense, we have to give some some creds to XL. Great game for him. He was consistent. He had 9 receptions, I believe, for 92 yards. Good to see him getting some good work today.
Yeah, by far his best game as a Panther, and you see why Dave Canales came out and said a couple weeks ago after his struggles against Jacksonville and against Arizona start the season, why he believed in Xavier Legette. And Dave talked about even a couple weeks ago when XL had that touchdown reception against Miami that, I mean, he teared up for a little bit there just because he was so proud of him. And then you get to see just how good he can be. And you look at that play, the touchdown that he had there in the first half before halftime. It's a great play by Bryce Young to stay alive and scramble. But also I'm watching Xavier Legette the whole time as he is looking at the quarterback, making sure that he can get open in that scramble drill. So a ton of credit to him there. The 33-yard reception at the end of the game to ice it. He's made some big plays there. And this is exactly the kind of player I think he can be for Carolina. I never expected him to be the number one type of guy, but to be a solid number 2, especially to Tetairoa McMillan, who didn't necessarily have the biggest day today, like that is so key for this passing attack, which got Jalen Coker back. He didn't do anything today, had 2 targets, 0 receptions. Jimmy Horn Jr. has been growing in the offense. JT Sanders is back out there. Mitchell Evans has been a nice little piece as a rookie so far this year. You know what Tommy Tremble can do. So I think the passing game still has a long way to go, but having a guy like Xavier Legette play the way that he played and show that potential today is really big for them moving forward.
I completely agree. And I was just thinking when you mentioned T-Mac, it does take a lot of pressure off of him when he is this rookie and he's been leading this team in receiving yards so far. To have someone else be able to be reliable, it's not just him, and to do it in a big way. So great to see XL doing that in this game, but also hoping to see everyone else keeping to move that trajectory up. But defense was the winner for them in this game. They were phenomenal. Derek Brown just batting balls away. Let's start with him. I mean, this year it seems like, I mean, he's been great forever, but this year he seems just to be a monster out there.
Yeah, I think there's a reason why the Panthers defense struggled last year, and a big piece of that is that Derek Brown only played in 1 game. 2 sacks today, 7 tackles. That was tied for a team high, and as you mentioned there, Danielle, a ton of batted balls, but he's just a monster up front, and you see every week that he's ragdolling somebody. Brian Baldinger of NFL Network Weekly puts out there a video over on Twitter of Derek Brown just moving offensive linemen out the way, and just those poor interior offensive linemen there in New York having to be a part of that this Sunday. So yeah, he's been so good for them. And the run defense again was good today, only giving up 81 yards. Yes, only gave up 50 combined the last 2 weeks, but still to hold a guy like Breece Hall to 38 yards, that's great to see, especially with a Jets team that really can't have any success through the air. They're gonna have to be good on the ground. And Derek Brown and company, they eliminated that. And 6 sacks overall today. Had 5 going into the game, 6 today, 2 of those from Derek Brown. He's a monster, and he's a guy that's going to continue to get better and better and to be a stalwart there on this Panthers defense and one of the faces of the franchise.
I love those montages that they post of him just swatting players away. It is awesome to see. But if we're talking about sacks, we also have to give huge creds to Nick Scorton, who I know has been itching this whole season so far to finally get his first solo. Yes, he did. But Pat Jones, who is now out for the rest of the season, left a big hole for this team on the edge. And these 2 rookies, and Nick Scorton and Princely Emmanuel, really both stepping up in this game as well.
Oh, absolutely. And for both those guys, I mean, they combined for 2 sacks, 1.5 from Nick, half sack from Princely. Half, it counts. You'll take it, of course, to your tally. That's big. And the Jets, they are the worst offensive line in the league. The quarterbacks that they have, in particular, Justin Fields, don't help out there. A sacks are more of a quarterback stat than an offensive line stat. And we saw that today as Justin held on the ball way too long. I think a large part of why he got benched at halftime. So if not now, when was it going to happen for Carolina and this pass rush? And it was good to see that they were able to more than double their season total today, going from 5 sacks on the season to 11 after getting 6 today. And 2 of those, of course, coming from their rookie edge rushers who were selected back in day 2 of the draft back in April. And not having Pat Jones, it's good to see what Scorton and Imami are able to do, and also having DJ Wonnum there. There'll be plenty of questions that fans will have about potentially being interested at the deadline for a pass rusher. I think there's going to be a lot of teams looking for one. I don't know what Dan Morgan, the Panthers' appetite is for one right now, but it's good to see that those 2 guys in the first game without Pat Jones for the rest of the season step up in this manner, even if it was against an opponent that is not known for their pass protection.
Yeah, let's remind everyone everyone out there that the Jets actually had given up 9 sacks the prior week. So yeah, this isn't anything different really for them, but so cool, I guess, again, for these rookies, and just still piling on what we've been saying about how Dan Morgan seemed to really win the draft this year with what they were able to put together in their rookie class. But all that's to say, if we're talking defense, we have to look at Mr. J.C. Horn, because he had 2 extraordinarily timely interceptions. He knows how to show up in the moment. It's remarkable to watch him. That first one in the end zone was awesome to see. It was kind of crazy with the TV angle to really see it at first, but once we got a look at it, it was like awesome. But then that game-sealing one towards the end, JC's got to be in contention to be, if not the best corner in the league, but one of the top defenders in all of the NFL.
He's one of the better ones, and the great thing potentially about this 4-3 start for Carolina and with the games they have coming up against Buffalo and against Green Bay is that the rest of the country is going to finally get to know just how good J.C. Horn is, because the Panthers are winning games because J.C.'s going out there making these miraculous kind of plays. Maybe they're not miraculous because he just does this, because that's how good of a player he is. And the rest of the league is going to get to know, and the rest of the country really is going to get to know just how good of a player he is. And your best players have to be your best players. And that was the case today defensively. We talked about Derek earlier, but then with JC, that touchdown and interception, the interception in the end zone, like the player prior should have been a touchdown. Tyrod Taylor underthrows Allen Lazard, comes back the next play, throws a deep ball, still not a great throw, and then JC takes care of it. The second interception there on a drive where maybe the Jets could have gone down there and tied the game. Never really felt like that was going to happen, but the little lob out there to the sideline, JC taking care of it, more like he's the receiver than the receiver's actually being the receiver. So he was great in this game, and he was not going to allow this team to lose in New York. While the offense was sputtering in the second half, not doing anything, having to punt on 4 straight drives, Derek Brown, and the rest of that defense, they weren't going to allow the Jets to get anything and to win that game. And he made those plays. And I can only imagine that his confidence, which is already soaring as is only getting better. And he's only thinking more about what this defense can do and how they can reset and continue on against a Buffalo Bills team next week.
The narrative really has changed from last year, obviously, to where they are right now, where they were saying historically poor defense just all of last season, to this defense is helping them in big moments to win games. And it's especially cool to see guys who have been on this team for quite some time now, like JC, like DB, being those contributors. Shows they've made these good investments in these players, getting other pieces around them, also helping to set them up for success. So are we starting to give the flowers to the defense that they're starting to deserve in your eyes?
Dave Canales told anybody who had listened last year that he liked the scheme, and even when things didn't start off that well the first 6 quarters of the season, he still said he liked the scheme. It's just about execution, and clearly they've executed better, and I think the personnel is better. They didn't have Derek Brown last year, so how could you expect that to have been a good run defense? Now, didn't expect it to be as poor as it was, and there's people who've criticized the linebacker play this season. I think Trevin Wallace, especially since he's gotten the green dot and has been the communicator there, he's been really good there in the middle of the defense at that linebacker spot. Trevon Merrick got a sack in this game. He's been solid for them. Obviously, Mike Jackson, J.C. Horn, they've been really good. You looked at what they've done at safety. Nick Scott's been solid. Lathan Ransom, the rookie, he's also played well. This has been an A'Shawn Robinson, Bobby Brown III. Like, they have added players through the offseason, whether it be the draft, free agency, who have helped elevate this defense, and then they've gotten back guys like Derek Brown and Derek and JC, who are their best players on defense, and probably the best players on this team, have both gone out there and have played to their talent level and been able to rise everything around him. And so I think that this defense, certainly, it's a lot better than it was last year. I don't know just how good it is yet. I want to see what they do against Josh Allen next Sunday, and what they do against Jordan Love and that Packers attack the week afterwards. Like, we're going to really find out just how good, not just what the defense is, but how good this team is over the next 2 weeks. But certainly, they're not nearly as bad of the unit that we saw at the beginning of the season and what we saw last year.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because I feel like the teams they've played so far have either been less than good or kind of middle of the road. So to play really good teams, well, I feel like now we can say the Patriots are a very good team. The Jags, we didn't know at the time in just week 1, would be starting to be pretty good too. Of course, they've kind of teetered off a little bit too, but to have 2 good opponents coming up, If they were to be able to get a win, do you think that's going to kind of put Carolina on the map even more against either the Bills or against Green Bay at this point?
Yeah, I think that would absolutely be big for them moving forward, because you look after those two games and believe it's New Orleans. So if you can get any kind of win, already sitting here at 4-3, if they are, say, let's see, if they win one of these games, so they split them, so if they go 5-4, then they get a win against New Orleans, like sitting at 6-4, 10 games into it, like you absolutely take that. I don't know if that'd be enough to win the division, but it certainly would be enough to have them in the wild card race going into November, and then of course in December when it really starts to take fold and take a picture of what things are going to look like in the NFC. So yeah, a win against Buffalo on Sunday, a team that many people felt like was going to be the winner in the AFC East and is going to be a potential team that goes to the Super Bowl, represents the AFC. Josh Allen is leading as far as you look at just the betting lines. He's the top vote getter, not the vote getter, but he's got the best odds to be MVP. If you are able to beat them or even beat Green Bay, hell, if they win both of those games, like that completely changes the way that this organization will be viewed. It's a good win against the Jets, even if it was ugly. It's a good win against Dallas, especially the way they played today against Washington. It's good to beat Miami if the Dolphins are one of the worst teams, if not the worst team in the league. It's good to get these wins, but teams like Buffalo, teams like Green Bay, like those are who you're really going to be measured against to see just how good of a team that you can be this year and beyond.
I mean, you and I are in the locker room. We're in Dave Canales' press conferences multiple times per week. What, from your perspective, do you think is change that is trending towards these winning ways for them?
I think the personnel, I also...
All right, we will finish the last bit of Danielle Stein's interview with Locked On's Julian Council right now. It is about 10 o'clock, and you know what that means. Speaker Johnson and the rest of GOP leadership speaking on the lockdown as we are closing in on day number 20 of the federal government shutdown. Let's go ahead and listen in to his daily comments now on Live Impact News on WCNC+.
And all that's happening. This is now the third longest shutdown in history. And when you look at it carefully, it is now already the longest full shutdown of all time. You had an example in 2018, and you had one back in 1995 that were longer, but they were partial shutdowns because they only affected a part of the federal government. This is everything. And it's also important for us to note, this is the first time in history that any party has had the audacity to shut down the government over a totally clean, nonpartisan continuing resolution. This is a political stunt, and it's the first time it's been done, and it is the most costly, most selfish, most dangerous political stunt in the history of the United States Congress, because as we have stood here day after day after day explaining all the Americans who are being harmed by this nonsense. And the Senate Democrats have zero shame about this. They don't have any shame at all about the pain that they're inflicting upon hardworking families, upon soldiers and law enforcement officers and veterans and the elderly and the disabled and women, infants, and children. Services to all those categories and paychecks to those folks are being stalled because Democrats are playing games. Today, Leader Thune in the Senate will once again bring the clean, nonpartisan CR to the floor for a vote. They will have another chance. Democrats will have their 12th opportunity to pass the bill. It is the same bill that they themselves supported just 7 months ago. Chuck Schumer gave impassioned speeches on the floor about how it was the only option. And don't forget, they did it 13 times under the Biden administration. Very similar measures, but not now. Something's changed. Over the weekend, we saw what it was all about. The Democrats made crystal clear that this is about politics. The politics were on full display. The politics, the spectacle, is what the mobs, the crowds, the rallies this week were all about. It was quite ironic, though. The irony was very glaring. They called it the No Kings Rally. But the great irony, of course, that we pointed out over and over was if President Trump was a king, the government would be open. If President Trump was a king, he would have closed the national parks and the National Mall, so they couldn't have had the rally out here. By the way, that's what President Obama did during the shutdown in 2013, closed all the parks and the National Mall. Here in Washington, you had Senators Bernie Sanders and Chris Murphy and Cory Booker and others marching in the streets. Now, these are the same senators who voted over and over to shut down the legislative branch and hand the reins to President Trump. They're decrying the situation that they themselves created. This has always been about the spectacle. Chuck Schumer himself joined the spectacle in New York City. And it's interesting to note his activities there. He was standing side by side some of the most radical groups that maybe ever assembled on U.S. soil. They openly advertised as co-sponsors of the event in New York City the Communist Party USA, the Democrat Socialist of America, the Freedom Socialist Party, the Young Communist League of New York, many others. Do we need any further evidence? They're not hiding this. They're out in the open. They're not shy about it. Because this is the core constituency of the modern Democratic Party. These are objective facts. Look at what's happening. Open your eyes. It is exactly why Chuck Schumer is pandering in this whole charade. We've explained from the very beginning, this shutdown is about one thing and one thing alone: Chuck Schumer's political survival. Now, I noted on Friday the lead organizer of the rallies this weekend issued an open threat to Democrats. Quote, "The cavalry is coming in on October 18th, and they're either going to be celebrating with you, or they're going to be calling for new leadership." Now that's a direct threat to Chuck Schumer, and he heard the message. So did Hakeem Jeffries in the House. And that's why neither of them were here doing their jobs. Instead, they were out in New York and California. They were catering to the same radical base that is just days away from electing an open Marxist as mayor of New York City. And now that Chuck Schumer has had his spectacle, he's had his big protest against America, this is our plea. We're asking, and I think everybody in this room and everybody watching, listening to our voices this morning should be hoping that he is finally now ready to go to work and end this shutdown and stop inflicting pain on the American people. Republicans have been working. We are ready. We've been doing this. It's been over a month now. We passed a responsible short-term solution to keep the government open while we just simply finish our work to fund the government openly and transparently, and Republicans are completely united on that front. On the other side, Democrats can't even agree amongst themselves. You got different subgroups among them. You've got a few reasonable Democrats who know shutdowns hurt the people, and they've already voted for our bill. They want to keep the government open. Then you've got others desperate to prop up the failures of Obamacare with no reforms whatsoever to make the program more affordable. That's what we're fighting for. And you've got AOC calling for her own negotiations on live TV. And you've got Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries still unable to articulate what it is they need to reopen the government. It illustrates the point once again. This was never about a solution. It was about creating an issue. Now that Democrats have had their protest and publicity stunts, I just pray that they come to their senses and end this shutdown and reopen the government this week. Republicans are waiting. The American people are waiting. And we are ready to act. As evidence of just how united Republicans are in this fight, I've asked two of our prominent leaders in the House Republican Conference. I've got House Freedom Caucus Chairman Andy Harris. Dr. Harris is also an appropriator. And House Freedom Caucus Policy Chair Chip Roy of Texas. I'll turn it over to Dr. Harris first.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Earlier this month, the House Freedom Caucus made history by hosting our first press call held with the Speaker. And today we're doing it again, standing shoulder to shoulder at a full leadership press conference as part of the united Republican front against this Democrat-led shutdown. On the Sunday morning shows yesterday, the Democrats tried once again, unconvincingly, to say that they are not to be blamed for the shutdown. But the reason that the government remains shut down is becoming crystal clear to Americans. It's because Senate Democrats have chosen to pander to their radical base instead of doing their job for the American people. Senate Democrats have had the opportunity to vote 11 times for the House-passed bill that pays our troops, pays our law enforcement, and pays our air traffic controllers now, and would immediately reopen the government. Instead, they've sided with the same radical activists who filled the streets this weekend chanting "No Kings" at rallies backed by the Communist Party USA and socialists, the same people who claim to hate power while demanding more control over your life. The question before us now is simple. Will at least 5 Senate Democrats relent and break from their party's left-wing fringe and vote to reopen the government today? Let's also be honest about what the Democrats are really fighting for. They're demanding taxpayer-funded health care for illegal immigrants. They want to eliminate work requirements for welfare for able-bodied adults who could work but choose not to. and they're defending hundreds of billions of dollars in continued corporate welfare for big, profitable health insurance companies that have already made a fortune off Obamacare with the Biden bonuses that the Democrats scheduled to expire at the end of this year. House Republicans have already done their job.
All right, friends, we need to take a quick break here. We will see you in about 2 minutes on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. It is 10:14 on a Monday morning. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Want to take it to the Tar Heel State right now. General Assembly meeting this morning, and they are talking redistricting. The North Carolina General Assembly meeting happening on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Let's listen in live.
Do not believe that the use of racial data would have been helpful in reaching any political or other legislative redistricting goals. Any political consideration in line drawing have been informed by political data and not racial data. Now the plan before you.
Senator Heiss, I think you may have said in your comments 2001, 2003, but I think you meant 2021 and 2023.
Okay. Now the plan before you. The new congressional plan makes no changes to 12 of the 14 districts. The only districts that are changed in the new proposal are NC1 and NC3. The following changes in the new congressional plan consist of the following. Greene, Lenoir, Wayne, and Wilson counties are moved from District 1 to District 3. Beaufort, Carteret, Craven, Dare, Hyde, and Pamlico counties are moved from District 3 to District 1. To balance the population of the two districts, 4,853 people, according to the 2020 census numbers, out of the 204,576 in Onslow County, that is 2.4%, are moved from District 3 to District 1. The split occurs in Swansboro Precinct, leaving much of the town in one district, NC1, as possible, minimizing the municipal split. As I stated previously, the motivation behind this new plan is straightforward. The new congressional map improves Republican political strength in eastern North Carolina. It moves NC District 1 from a district where President Trump earned 51% of the vote in 2024 to 55% of the vote, an increase of 4 points. To balance strength, NC3 loses the same amount NC1 gains, 4 points, moving from a 60% presidential Trump performance in the previous map to a 56 performance in the new map. The end result is a congressional map that should perform to elect 11 Republicans. Not only does the new congressional map better improve Republican political strength in eastern North Carolina, giving Republican candidates a better opportunity to win in NC1, the new map adheres to traditional redistricting principles. Importantly, it is more compact than the current districts in all recognized measures. Here's a comparison of the overall map, NC1 and NC3. The REOC measure of compactness is always between 0 and 1, with 1 being the most compact. The 2023 congressional plan has a maximum REOC score of a 0.59. The 2024 plan improves the maximum REOC score to 0.60. The 23 congressional plan has a mean REOC score of 0.40. The 2024 plan improves the mean REOC score to 0.42. In NC1, the 2023 congressional plan has a REOC score of 0.42. In the 2024 plan, the REOC score for NC1 improves to 0.49. NC3 in the 2023 plan has a REOC score of 0.37. In the 2024 plan, the REOC score for NC3 improves to 0.60. The Posley-Popper measure of compactness also is always between 0 and 1, with 1 being the most compact. The 2023 congressional plan has a max Posley-Popper score of 0.29. The 2024 plan improves the max Posley-Popper score to 0.33. The 2023 congressional plan has a mean Posley-Popper score of 0.24. This 2024 plan improves the mean Posley-Popper score to 0.25. NC District 1 in the 2023 plan has a Posley-Popper score of 0.27. In this plan, the Posley-Popper score for NC1 improves to 0.33. And NC3 in the 2023 congressional plan has a Posley-Popper score of 0.25. In the 2024 plan, the Posley-Popper score for NC3 improves to 0.26. In both of the recognized measures of compactness, REOC and Posley-Popper, both NC1 and NC3, as well as the map as a whole, are more compact in the new plan than the 2023 plan. Be happy to answer any questions you may have, and the map is before.
Senator Heiss, so I think a couple times you said the 2024 plan. Did you mean the 2025 plan?
I mean the current plan that's before.
Okay, so anything you said 2024, you meant this map 2025? Yep. Okay, all right. Just wanted to clarify that. All right, Senator Batch.
Thank you, Chair. Just a preliminary matter so that we allow enough time for people who want to speak from the public. Do you know how long you are allowing for this committee to go on today?
We potentially could be here for up to 2 hours.
Okay, thank you. And then I have a series of questions. Do you want me to direct them individually and ask each time? Or?
Do you have an approximate number of questions?
Yeah, I have about 4.
So why don't you just be recognized for a series of questions?
That would be fabulous.
Right.
Thank you so much, Chair. Good morning, Senator Heiss. When was the decision made to redraw the maps?
Senator Heiss, you're recognized to answer a series of questions.
The decision has not yet been made to draw these maps. The proposal is before the committee, and the decision will be made by the full House and the Senate this week. That's coming in. We began drawing these districts, I believe it was Monday, October 13th. Is when we began looking at alternatives to propose before the committee, but the General Assembly as a whole is the one that will make decisions as to changing the maps.
Okay. And what communications have the Senate Republicans had with the White House and the President regarding these maps, this map?
I have had no direct communication with the White House or others. There are obviously some tweets out there and others that are in public domain. I think the President has endorsed, as I said, the President has endorsed our proposal for doing it. There has been a broader public discussion, but I have not been connected directly by the President or by the White House staff.
Do you know if any of Senator Berger or leadership staff in the Senate Republican caucus have had communication with the White House?
I cannot speak to other people's communications.
Okay. The current congressional map, as you are aware, is being challenged in federal court in NAACP versus Berger. So my question is, why draw a new congressional map now rather than wait on a decision after this summer's trial concluded?
To respond, I think clearly that California has moved ahead in an attempt to move multiple seats towards Democrats, and it is important in that timeline that we respond.
On that matter specifically, it's my understanding that California has sent it to the people of California to determine whether they want new maps. Are you open to sending it to North Carolinians for the decision about whether or not we want new maps before drawing this?
Our process in the state of North Carolina is that legislative districts are passed by the General Assembly. I think California had some process that involved independent redistricting commissions that were out there that they completely bypassed and chose another route to go for doing that. We will remain consistent with how we pass maps in the state of North Carolina.
Was any effort made to remedy or litigate the alleged violations from the 2023 map that were challenged in court?
There are no violations. There is no such ruling.
And what is the committee doing to ensure public participation in drawing these new maps outside of public comment on the portal?
We're open for public comment this morning. We have had the portal open since Thursday to receive comments from the public.
And will any public hearings be held as they have been in the past prior to this map going to the Senate floor for a vote?
This map is drawn under the same data and proposals that all the other previous maps in this decade were drawn, and so we continue to have all the public comment as to how maps should look and how they should be drawn in North Carolina. We're receiving different additional input regards to this change, but nothing has changed in the data, and we do not intend to schedule additional public hearings outside of the House committees that may take it up and may have public comment available at those as well.
Senator Batch, is that all your questions? All right, Senator Smith.
Thank you. I would like to also be recognized for a series of questions.
Do you know about how many questions you have, Senator?
About 3 or 4.
All right, you're recognized for a series of questions, and Senator Heiss, you're recognized to answer those.
Thank you so much. So in listening to your answers, Senator Heiss, I guess I'm hearing some semantics about the maps because we're looking at one right here in front of us that has been drawn for consideration. So when and where was this map drawn?
We set up software with staff in our committee room that's been the same since we drew before. I think it's the conference room outside of my office at 301 for those softwares. System Have, that's where we went in to draw the map. All the same data was available on the map that was available at the previous draws, excluding racial information, and we had multiple central staff members and others that assisted with that process.
Okay, and can you...
While North Carolina lawmakers are taking some public comment, we'll go ahead and take care of some business here on Live Impact News on WCNC+. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. GOP leadership speaking on the government shutdown as we are into day 20. It looks like House Speaker Johnson is wrapping up his comments and taking some media questions. Let's go ahead and listen in on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
Give us our rights. It is in God whom we trust. That is the national motto. That's what America's built on. What those people are advocating for is at its essence un-American. And when they go the next step and they call for violence on political officials in an environment that is already a heightened threat environment, it's dangerous stuff. They had the right to do it. Congratulations, they didn't burn any buildings down. That's a big achievement for the left, to have some kind of gathering where they don't have a looting and riots and burn a building down. There was, I think, some in Portland. They threw bottles and bricks and stuff at the ICE facility because that's what they do for fun now out there. But they had a free speech event. Congratulations. But you need to look past that and look at what it is they're advocating for openly, and it's really scary stuff. Yes, ma'am. Second row. Yes, ma'am. I was actually pointing to her. I don't think you've asked a question before. Go ahead.
Hi, Oriana with Fairness. So Arizona Attorney General Chris Mays said over the weekend she plans to file a lawsuit against you for not swearing in Ali Davidova. Have you or your office spoken to her in the last couple of days about that, and what's your response?
Oh, my goodness. Okay, yes. So yet another Democrat politician from Arizona is trying to get national publicity. So now it's the state AG who's going to sue me because Grijalva is not yet sworn in. Let me go through this again for you, and I have some updates. First of all, I'm following the Pelosi precedent. I was on some of the Sunday shows and was asked about this because this is all they have to talk about right now. When Julia Letlow was elected under very similar circumstances to fill the seat of her deceased husband, who passed away tragically by COVID, Nancy Pelosi, Speaker Pelosi at the time, took 25 days to administer the oath of office to her. It wasn't just Julia. The Pelosi precedent extends even further because when Pat Ryan and Joe Sempolinsky were elected, during an August recess, they waited 21 days to administer the oath to those to rep-elects because they were not in session. We are not in legislative session. The chronology is important. Rep. Grijalva won her race in I think it was the last week of September, after we had already gone out of session. So I will administer the oath to her, I hope on the first day we come back, legislative session. I'm willing and anxious to do that. In the meantime, instead of doing TikTok videos, she should be serving her constituents. She could be taking their calls. She can be directing them, trying to help them through the crisis that the Democrats have created by shutting down the government. Oh, and by the way, I also did find out this little tidbit that should be interesting to you. When a rep-elect comes in on a special election in particular, it is up to the leaders of her party, his or her party in the House, to give them guidance and direction. One of the first things they do is reach out to what we do, is reach out, majority leader, or reaches out to the rep-elect and says, hey, welcome, congratulations. Here's all the things you need to do. Here's the office of the chief administrative officer of the House, and they will help you get all of your computers set up and your passwords and all the rest. That call was apparently never made by Rep. Grijalva, and I don't know if the Democrat leader's office didn't inform her of that. But I found out this morning that the person who runs that office in the chief administrative office is on furlough because they voted to shut the government down. And so that person didn't reach out affirmatively, but now it's been sorted out, and I'm told they're going to her office today because she made a TikTok video saying that she couldn't use her computers. Well, she'll be able to use her computers now. Okay, she has 16 staffers. They need to be taking calls, and they need to be helping their constituents, just as Republicans are out in their districts right now, helping them navigate the chaos that is created by Democrats who are playing political games. Yes, next question. Yes, sir.
Are we not fast approaching the point where this CR doesn't buy you time for appropriations?
Well, I would defer to my appropriator buddy up here, but here's the thing. The appropriators have been doing great work. They're continuing to work. Even during the shutdown, they're working individually and on their subcommittees and among themselves and even across the aisle to get the next batch of appropriation bills ready for passage. Is the time eroding quickly? Yes. Is it dangerous for them to shut the government down right now? Yes, because we have very pressing matters that we need to handle, but we can't do it when the Senate is stalling all of that, stopping it. We passed 12 separate appropriations bills through the House committee. They've done their work. 3 of them off the House floor. 3 bills off the Senate floor. They don't match up exactly, so we're going to conference committee on that. We have to finish that process. We have to rebuild the muscle memory for regular order, because that is how we serve as good stewards of the American taxpayers. We're anxious to do that. We hope the Democrats will see the light. We hope that you will ask them the tough questions this week. Why in the heck are you doing this? What is the point? What is the purpose? And don't let them say it's about Obamacare subsidies, because that was always going to be the subject of debate internally and across the aisle between the caucuses and amongst everybody in the month of October. And they are now eating up the clock for us to have the thoughtful debate about reforms and things that might be necessary if indeed that's going to be extended. So it's on them. You need to ask them the tough questions. We're here to do the work. We'll continue to do it. Thank you all. Thank you.
All right, just wrapping up live. House Speaker Mike Johnson is speaking on day 20 of the federal government shutdown. We expect him to speak tomorrow if a deal is not reached today around this time, which we'll bring to you here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. And with that, we're going to take a quick 2-minute break. Back in 2. Welcome back to Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Happening right now is a press conference from Secretary Noem speaking on what looks to be an investigation wrapping up. Let's go ahead and listen in on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
This country illegally, and he has a conviction for domestic battery. He'd been deported twice before, in 2011 and in 2017. These individuals are just a handful of people that have been in this country creating victims out of American citizens that now those families do no longer have to worry about. Not only have they been brought into and incarcerated, but they're going to be brought to justice and pay for the crimes that they've committed. Every single day our law enforcement officers put their lives at risk to protect the American people. Every single day they get up and they go do their jobs to make sure that American families can live the lives that they've dreamed of since they were young. The left's anti-cop rhetoric has led to 1,000% increase in violence against our law enforcement officers. We have to stop the rhetoric that is allowing individuals the cover that they want to perpetuate violence against those who enforce our laws. Last month, we had an individual open fire at an ICE facility, and we also saw victims from that attack that happened, not just against ICE agents, but also about detainees that were there at that facility. That individual, when he fired upon the building, created some victims. We lost 2 lives there. 3 individuals were hurt, and 2 died later on after that event. The suspect had anti-ice written on the ammunition and on his bullet casings, proving that he had targeted against individuals that were working to keep our streets safe. Criminals are now even placing bounties on our law enforcement officers. This last month, the Department of Homeland Security arrested a criminal illegal alien and a Latin Kings gang member who placed a bounty on our U.S. Border Patrol Chief Greg Bavino. Still, they keep pressing on, and we've seen as well individuals on TikTok and other apps making threats against our law enforcement officers, putting bounties out on their head, and we will bring all of those individuals to justice. We will continue to bring murderers and rapists, those who perpetuate violence, pedophiles, gang members in our communities. We will go after them, bring them to justice, and we will save lives. The American people see this, and they see that President Trump is focused on making sure that our streets are safe and that our families have opportunities to raise their children in safe communities. In fact, recent polls have shown that 54% of Americans want illegals to be brought into justice, and they want to deport those who are in this country illegally. But 78% of Americans want these criminal illegal aliens brought to justice. That's because the American people understand the benefits of having law and order again. They understand the benefit of having that focuses on making sure that we are a nation of borders, but we're a nation of laws, and those laws are enforced. To the brave men and women of ICE and HSI and the law enforcement that are partnering with us, thank you. Thank you for all that you do to protect our country. Thank you for risking your lives for the American people and being willing to go out and stand for what is right, stand for law and order. And the American people are extremely grateful for that. To everyone else out there, I would ask you to please thank a law enforcement officer if you see them today. Cook them a meal for their family, support them, give them a word of encouragement. It's been 9 months since President Trump has been in office, and he's made an incredible difference for the American people. Let's make sure that those individuals who go out every single day and keep our streets safe, that they get the opportunity to be thanked for that as well. And with that, I will open it up for any questions that you may have. Yes.
Thank you so much for coming. I understand that ICE is working with local law enforcement agencies, including Florida Highway Patrol, to carry out much of its enforcement, and that a lot of, at least here in Florida, a lot of the arrests are being made through picking up these folks for traffic infractions, for example, holding them in jail. Can you talk about that partnership and how information is communicated between local law enforcement and ICE?
Well, it's been fantastic to see the partnerships that we've had here in Florida, in this community, but also throughout the entire state. We have a program called 287G, which allows local law enforcement agencies to partner with us on enforcement activities. And that has been very beneficial to making sure that we're out there working together, cooperative, bringing people to justice, and then making those law enforcement officers involved in helping keep their communities safe as well. And we're grateful for that. Florida has been, I think, the state that has provided the most law enforcement agreements under the 287G than any other state, and it shows that they recognize the importance of bringing individuals to justice that have convicted crimes against the people that live in their communities, but also ways that we can support our federal government in the work that we do as well, as far as enforcing our immigration laws, but also making sure that these dangerous terrorists and criminals and gang members are brought to justice and removed out of our country. Yes.
Why do you feel it's necessary to come all the way to Sarasota, Florida, to make these announcements? Considering this is just 4 of many arrests going on nationwide, and why specifically Sarasota versus going to Chicago or Portland?
Well, I've been to Chicago. And I've been to Portland and focused on supporting those law enforcement officers and operations there. I'm in Sarasota today because people don't get to hear the media cover these individuals that have been removed off of the streets, the good work that law enforcement officers have already done. Many times when I turn on the news and listen to the networks, they're not covering the victims anymore that we've lost because of these crimes. They're not covering the individuals that have been brought to justice. Instead, they're trying to demonize our law enforcement officers. So to talk about these individuals that have been taken off the streets and show how much safer the American people are, we can show that that work can continue. These individuals that I spoke about today are not on the streets creating more victims. There's still individuals out there, though, that we need to bring to justice. And this is a reminder of the work that we do, but that we need to continue that work and let these law enforcement officers know that they're appreciated.
To maximize your investment in the time to come to Florida, you meet with, say, the sheriffs here who signed up with the program you just mentioned. Also, we're not very far from Alligator Alcatraz or Deportation Depot. Are you going to be possibly visiting there?
I have been to Alligator Alcatraz. I have visited it. I have not seen Deportation Depot yet, but we're grateful for those partnerships with the state of Florida. That has helped us with detainment centers that will allow us to host these individuals until their due process is finished and they can be removed from our country. So we're grateful for that. In fact, Alligator Alcatraz was the first project that we had with the state as far as putting together these beds, and we've had several other states now that have shared these agreements with us as well. So in Indiana, Nebraska, other states that have partnered and will continue to do that because it's more efficient for the taxpayers, but it also meets the needs that we have for bed space until individuals can be removed.
While on the subject of travel, you've received some criticism about the recent purchase of two business jets made by Gulfstream to the tune of $200 million going to the Coast Guard, which is one of your departments. It was stated by the two representatives about this, about their questioning about this. They said that your frequent appearances at ongoing operations which require the diversion of resources to focus on your security appears to be unjustified. What is your comment to that?
These aircraft are Coast Guard aircraft to replace 25-year-old airplanes that are necessary for the mission of the Coast Guard. Congress appropriated the dollars and paid for them in the big, beautiful bill, and we're grateful that we're able to move forward and make sure that Force Design 2028 for the Coast Guard is mission fulfilled and they can continue to serve our country, not just in a search and rescue mission, but also cooperating with our Department of War. And they're helping us in incredible ways with drug interdiction and bringing these cartels to justice as well. Yes.
We see working families afraid to go out without what message we have for them?
You're saying that working families are afraid to go out? I think they should be in this country legally. They have no fear whatsoever if they're in this country abiding by our laws. And that is the wonderful thing about America. Everybody is treated equally, and we don't pick and choose who the law applies to and who it doesn't. So individuals have the opportunity every day, if they're here illegally, to go home. Go home to your country and come the right way. If they wait until we detain them and we have to remove them ourselves, they'll never get the chance to come back to America.
You had mentioned, the fact that the media is not talking enough about some of the dangerous folks that you guys are catching and removing from the country. Do you think that might have something to do with the tactics, the masked ICE agents dragging people out of cars and off the street or coming out of their immigration hearings? We've seen images of families, children are crying. It's just sort of shocking in this country, never having seen that type of thing.
No, I think that our law enforcement officers are doing everything appropriately and correct to make sure people are brought to justice. And that's the
Well, it looks like things took an abrupt end there at Press Secretary Noem for Homeland Security speaking on ICE operations. Let's go ahead and take a break here. Our last one on this version of Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. We are back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Let's go back to the North Carolina state leaders and lawmakers as the General Assembly is discussing and taking some media questions and public comment on redistricting. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
Consider, did North Carolina or your Republicans consider that President Trump is actually doing what's unconstitutional?
President Trump has made a request. We are fully within our constitutional rights to redraw the congressional districts of the state of North Carolina. As the Democrats have historically, as far back at least as the 60s, we can find mid-decade draws from the Democrat. This is fully within our constitutional authority, and we are exercising it. The President can make requests and supports and others, but we're making the choice to move forward.
Was this ever done by a president before?
It's not being done by
President
President
Obama
now.
do this?
It's not being done by President now either.
Yes, it is. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I drew these maps.
Senator Mohammed, do you have a series of questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, a series of questions for the sponsor.
Do you know about how many questions you have?
Probably 3 or 4.
Okay. All right, you're recognized, and Senator Heiss, you're recognized to respond.
Thank you, Senator Daniel. So first of all, Senator Heiss, thank you so much for coming out bluntly and acknowledging the scheme of this body to essentially give President Trump an 11th yes man from this General Assembly and this congressional map. With that being said, my question to you is, did you, as you acknowledge as the map maker, did you reach out to legislative counsel or outside experts and get a written opinion about, does this map actually comply with the United States Constitution, North Carolina Constitution?
I have multiple conversations with our counsel about what we're doing. I've been involved with them in multiple cases up to this point about what are the authorities of North Carolina. Outside of our counsel, we have consulted with no one, independent district people or whatever else in regard to that process.
Thank you, Senator Heiss. Senator Heiss, question for you, and my apologies if I don't know this about your background. But can you tell me, are you from North Carolina? Were you born and raised in this state?
I was.
You're pretty aware of this state and the demographics of this state, I would say?
I was born and raised in western North Carolina.
Okay.
I have general knowledge of the demographics of this state.
All right, we're going to switch gears now from the North Carolina General Assembly to North Carolina Governor Josh Stein. He was just here in Charlotte earlier this morning, made it back to Raleigh, speaking on an update on North Carolina Strong Initiative that is also going to continue streaming here on the Plus. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Let's listen in live.
Then we are also failing to keep our people safe. One easy preliminary step the legislature can take is to simply not go backwards. I'm calling on them to reverse the cuts they already made to our mental health system earlier this year. That includes $18.5 million from the state's behavioral health system, $15.6 million taken from the psychiatric inpatient and crisis beds, and $10 million taken from the mental health task force and recurring funding. We also have a major healthcare staffing shortage at our state hospitals. Nearly 40% of this state's psychiatric beds are empty. Not because there isn't need, but because there isn't sufficient staffing. This real problem is keeping people from getting the help that they desperately need. With $15 million, we could make the salaries of our healthcare technicians competitive so that we can hire the necessary staff and utilize these mental health beds for the good of the people of this state. And if we really want to take mental health and public safety seriously, it is past time to fully fund Medicaid. The legislature knows as well as I do that the cuts that went into effect on October 1st are harming people, and the damage will worsen over time. Both chambers agree that more funding is needed. Both chambers agree on the amount of funding that is needed, and yet they have yet to appropriate it. It is a shameful abdication of their responsibility. State law requires DHHS to maintain a balanced budget. The legislature's failure to appropriate adequate funding has forced the department to make painful choices. But it is not too late for the legislature to right this ship. The legislature can still save the day. I urge Leader Berger and Speaker Hall to step up and get this done. Send me a clean Medicaid bill and I will sign it. Now, I will spotlight some of the great work that's going on in our state. I'm going to ask DMV Commissioner Paul Tyne to join me on the stage, please. On September 30th, I signed Senate Bill 245 into law, enabling more people to renew their driver's licenses online. I thank the General Assembly for working with the DMV to pass this bill, and I applaud the DMV for their speedy implementation. The bill is helping more people skip the trip to the DMV by allowing them to renew their license online instead of in person. And that, in turn, is shortening the lines for folks who have to visit in person. In the first 2 weeks of this policy, more than 18,000 people have renewed their licenses online. That's 18,000 people who couldn't have done so before. 18,000 people who otherwise would have had to go to a DMV office, adding to the length of the lines there. The DMV has also made great progress in filling vacancies and hiring more examiners. When the General Assembly appropriated funds in August to add 64 new driver's license examiners this year, the DMV filled each of those positions within 1 month. That is absolutely incredible. Out of 632 examiner positions across North Carolina, we are at 95% staffed. More examiners means faster service and better experiences for customers. We know that we still have a very long way to go to make people's DMV experiences smoother, speedier, and less stressful, and we are going to keep at it. But let's recognize these improvements and keep looking for ways to do even better. I'll now invite forward Commissioner Tyne to share more updates on the DMV. Commissioner.
Thank you, Governor. All of us at Team DMV are grateful for your support in what we're doing to improve service for North Carolinians. I also want to thank the legislature, the Department of Transportation, Secretary Johnson, former Secretary Hopkins, the auditor, other state agencies, and partners for all that they are doing to support DMV. We still have a long way to go, but as the governor said, we have made incredible changes. Our goal in the short term is to reduce demand by allowing more online transactions, increasing capacity by hiring frontline staff, and driving process improvements. I especially appreciate your support and that of the legislature in passing Senate Bill 245, which has allowed for more online renewals for our customers. Non-Real ID driver licenses can now be renewed online for a second consecutive time. Real ID driver's licenses can also be renewed online for a second time if you visited an office for a transaction since your last renewal. You can find out if you're eligible by going online to ncdmv.gov at your next renewal. Within a week of the governor signing the bill into law, we had non-Real ID licenses up and running on the website. Late last week, we added the Real ID license renewals. As of midnight, as the governor said, we've had over 18,000 people take advantage of being able to renew online. That's 18,000 people out of the offices, but to put it in context, we serve about 8,000 people a day in all of our offices across the state. So that's like having an entire extra day available to us each and every week. But we're not done. The last part of Senate Bill 245 will allow teen drivers to upgrade from level 2, the before nines, to level 3, the after nines, online. We expect this to be available in about 2 weeks. All told, we estimate these new online services will move up to 400,000 customers each year out of the
All right, y'all, that's going to do it here for the stream on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. This right here, North Carolina Strong Initiative, comments from Governor Josh Stein, continuing on the Plus app. On the main channel, though, as we come up on 11 o'clock, Charlotte Day is up next. Have a great day.